What if every volcano on Earth erupted at once? Imagine waking up to a world that changes completely in the blink of an eye. The sky turns black, ash begins to fall like snow, the ground trembles uncontrollably, and volcanoes across every continent, Asia, North America, Europe, Africa, South America, Oceania, and even the remote regions of Antarctica, begin to roar to life. It's a scenario so intense, so apocalyptic, that it feels more like a movie than real science. Yet asking this question opens a fascinating and honestly terrifying window into the raw, unpredictable power of our planet. But before we plunge into this cataclysmic journey, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more mind-blowing explorations, and comment below. How do you think humanity would survive if every volcano erupted at the same time? Let's begin by understanding the sheer scale of what we're talking about. Earth is home to over 1,500 active volcanoes, and that's not even counting the ones on the ocean floor, which could number in the tens of thousands. These geological monsters are fueled by magma chambers deep beneath the crust, reservoirs of molten rock and gas under intense pressure. Normally, volcanic eruptions are scattered, separated by years or even centuries, each one reshaping the landscape around it. But if all volcanoes erupted simultaneously, we'd witness something the Earth hasn't seen in hundreds of millions of years, if ever. In the first few minutes, seismic activity would skyrocket. Massive earthquakes would shake the world as pressure is released from multiple points around the globe. These wouldn't just be isolated tremors. They'd be catastrophic quakes with magnitudes well above 8 or 9 on the Richter scale, collapsing cities and infrastructure instantly. Within hours, explosive eruptions would begin. Volcanoes like Mount Vesuvius, Mount Etna, Mount Fuji, Yellowstone, Mauna Loa, Popocatépetl, Krakatoa, and hundreds more would simultaneously release plumes of ash miles into the atmosphere. Entire regions would be obliterated by pyroclastic flows, clouds of hot gas, rock, and ash moving at speeds up to 700 kilometers per hour, incinerating everything in their path. Lava would pour from countless fissures and vents, swallowing forests, farmland, and cities. The scale of destruction would be unimaginable. Countries with the most volcanoes, like Indonesia, Japan, the United States, Russia, Chile, and the Philippines, would be hit first and hardest. But, no place would be safe. Even areas without any volcanoes nearby would suffer from ash fallout. Air travel would be grounded globally as volcanic ash clogs jet engines and reduces visibility to zero. The skies would darken rapidly. Within days, a thick layer of ash and aerosol particles would envelop the atmosphere, blocking sunlight and creating what scientists call a volcanic winter. Unlike a regular winter, which is seasonal and expected, this would be a sudden, unrelenting drop in global temperatures that could last years. Without sunlight, photosynthesis would grind to a halt. Crops would fail across continents. Food chains would collapse, global agriculture would be devastated, famine would spread, livestock would die. Humans would scramble to find alternative food sources, relying on stored goods, underground hydroponics, and lab-grown alternatives. But food would be scarce and panic widespread. Economies would collapse. Governments would struggle to maintain order. Wars could break out over resources. And the climate wouldn't just cool, it would change in complex ways. The sulfur dioxide released by volcanoes would combine with atmospheric moisture to create sulfuric acid aerosols. These would not only reflect sunlight but also damage the ozone layer, increasing UV radiation exposure in some regions. Acid rain would become common, damaging freshwater systems and killing aquatic life. Coastal cities might face secondary disasters, like tsunamis triggered by underwater eruptions. Islands could vanish beneath rising waves, while oceanic volcanoes like those in the Pacific Ring of Fire send shock waves through the ocean. Marine ecosystems would be devastated, coral reefs bleached, and fish populations reduced drastically. Air quality would deteriorate to dangerous levels. Volcanic ash contains fine particles of glass and other toxic substances that can severely harm the lungs. Power grids would go down as solar panels become useless in the darkened sky, and ash damages electrical infrastructure. Satellites could be affected too, as ash clouds and atmospheric disturbances interfere with signals. Communication networks would fail, cutting off populations from each other and making coordinated responses even harder. In colder regions, the volcanic winter could quickly lead to deadly freezing conditions. Without power and heat, millions could die from exposure. In warmer areas, erratic weather patterns could result in droughts, floods, and superstorms, making already bad situations worse. Humanity would be thrust back into a survival mode not seen since, well, the Ice Age. But is there any precedent for such a catastrophe? While we've never seen all volcanoes erupting at once, we have experienced super eruptions that, honestly, give us a glimpse into the devastation they can cause. The eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815, for instance, was the most powerful eruption in recorded history. It caused the year without a summer in 1816, leading to widespread crop failures and famine. And that was just one volcano. The Toba supereruption, which happened about 74,000 years ago, was even more powerful and, may have caused a genetic bottleneck in early human populations, reducing humanity to as few as 10,000 individuals. If even a few supervolcanoes erupted in unison today, the result could be extinction level. Let's talk about Yellowstone, one of the most infamous supervolcanoes. If it erupted fully, it could release more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of ash and debris, covering much of North America in meters of volcanic material. Combined with similar eruptions around the globe, we're talking about a thick blanket of ash that could cover continents, collapse roofs, destroy crops, and, honestly, choke waterways. But would the Earth itself survive? Ironically, yes. While such an event would be catastrophic for life on the surface, the Earth as a planet would continue to exist, largely unaffected in the long term. The atmosphere would slowly clear over decades, and ecosystems might eventually recover over centuries or even millennia. But for human civilization, the picture is bleak. Only nations with advanced preparation, underground bunkers, food stockpiles, alternative energy sources, and robust scientific infrastructure might stand a chance. Spacefaring nations could try to preserve a portion of humanity in orbit or on the moon, though, honestly, those programs are still far from ready. The wealthy might isolate themselves in high-tech shelters, while the rest of the world suffers unimaginable hardship. But humans are resilient. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and natural disasters before. Perhaps underground cities powered by geothermal energy could become the future. And here's a twist. Such an eruption could actually set the stage for future life. Volcanic ash is rich in minerals that make soil incredibly fertile once the atmosphere clears. After the destruction, there could be a rebirth, as ecosystems regenerate and evolve. This concept of destruction leading to creation is central to geology and mythology alike. So while the idea of all volcanoes erupting is terrifying, it also highlights the dynamic, ever-changing nature of our planet. It reminds us that Earth is not a static rock. It's a living, breathing system with forces far beyond our control. The more we understand these forces, the better we can prepare for future threats. So, could all volcanoes erupt at once? Scientifically, it's highly unlikely. There's no known mechanism that could link all volcanic systems globally in a simultaneous eruption. Even large-scale tectonic events or asteroid impacts would be unlikely to trigger every volcano. But asking the question forces us to think about the fragility of our civilization and the power of nature. It forces us to appreciate the scientists who monitor volcanoes, the emergency systems in place to protect us, and the importance of international cooperation in times of global crisis. And it pushes us to imagine new technologies, new ways of living, and new strategies for survival in a world that can change in an instant. If you made it this far, you're amazing. Thank you for sticking with us through this explosive journey into one of the most intense what-if scenarios imaginable. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating topics, and leave a comment below. If you had 24 hours to prepare before every volcano erupted, what would you do? Would you hide underground, escape to space, or find a way to adapt and survive on the surface? Let's discuss in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay curious, and never stop exploring.